Edition of the London Session Open. Today is April 22nd and it's 9:43 a.m. in London when we're doing this market update. My name is Alejandro Zambrano and I'm the guy here in the middle, this guy here, and we're gonna provide you guys with a market update, see what's happening. Of course, it's a lot about the slump in crude oil prices and how that might actually influence market players, but also the rest of the economy. If you do have any questions, you can just pop them here. If you just want to say hello as well, you can do that. I'm going to be with you now for the next 20 minutes to take a look at the markets together. Okay, so we'll begin, and we're going to begin with crude, and we're actually going to begin by taking a look at the crude oil future for June. So this is the new contract that people are trading, and I'm using this chart because the other chart that you get from a CFD broker, the continuous chart, is a bit difficult to deal with because whatever happened in that contract has not happened here yet in the June contract. So you have monthly contracts in crude oil because otherwise, again, you need to hold on to it, and it's actually you need to have like it's not safe. You need to have, I think you need to have some special permits and so on to actually store crude oil. Long story short, yesterday the market was up here, and I said that it looked very similar to what happened in May. And remember what we said about the May contract? Well, with the May contract, we said that when we take out the low, we're gonna slump. It's just that I had no idea that we're gonna go negative. If I would have shorted that myself, obviously had been like a very good day, but I didn't, and again I had no idea it was gonna go that low. Here is where we were yesterday, and yesterday we said that if we swing up here, we're gonna probably go lower. Now, unfortunately, here though, when we did the webinar at 9:30, we were here already. I do an earlier webinar as well for some clients, and we said be bearish from up here, but here the market had already moved away too much from the sell zone. I said if we go up, probably people gonna sell, and they're gonna attack the lows, and we did go low. And again, I didn't know we were gonna have this sort of 70% decline in the contract, even though some people said it could happen again. And why could it happen again? Why could this go negative? Well, because the situation in Oklahoma Cushing, where you take delivery for this specific type of contract, is apparently full. So unless you have at least some space there, you're not going to find a place to store your crude oil, which means that you need to get rid of it. And that's what's happening. People are getting rid of it. And now the other thing as well, that there's this big ETF, the biggest crude oil ETF, and it holds about 30% of all the contracts in June. And that ETF, because people know that they need to sell their positions and move them to other futures, people are front running them because they say, oh look, retail traders put like 2.5 billion into this thing, and I think 60% of all their holding is in this future. So by the end of next month, if the situation is the same, which is probably will be, then 60% of these money is going to go away. So what does the fund have to do to mitigate that? Well, they need to sell, right? And so people are front running, I think, that retail fund, that ETF, and I think people as well that hold that ETF are selling. So you have all of that, so it creates a negative spiral here, where people know that one big player needs to sell their positions, and even those within that fund need to know that they need to sell, and that just causes this to go down. And what happens is that the guy that is not reading the news, that just passively invest in this fund, they're just gonna wake up one day and see, oh, I just lost half of the value of that, or the whole thing just goes bankrupt. So that's really what's pressuring, and the problem with this is that it's pressuring the wider crude oil sector, and effectively it will force American shale producers to produce less, and some of them might even go bankrupt, and that could influence banks and so on. So that's really what's keeping people up at night. I still think in the long run we're gonna be okay, and maybe we are creating a major low here, But unless you can take physical storage, unless you can store this somewhere, which you can't as a retail investor, you won't be able to make too much money on this by holding in the long run. So again, long story short, the trend remains bearish for now. The problems are overwhelming, and there's a general risk that this continues to go lower. From a purely technical perspective, the trend remains bearish below 23.79, which is the same level we talked about yesterday. You can see how the market declined in one wave, and then a second wave, and then a third wave, and the market is now trying to bottom out here. And what could be happening here is that you have some people that are short, they're looking to buy back their positions, and that could lift things. If we go up to 1750, I think some people might sell here with stops just about 23.79. That's what I think is going to happen. You just need to be very careful and see why we're going up. Because these situations where it's so fragile, it wouldn't be unsurprising to have President Trump tweet and say something to support the market, or maybe even OPEC Plus, or maybe even the local the crude oil producers in the US come out and say, all right guys, we had enough, we're going to cut production voluntarily, so it doesn't become in a disorderly manner to support the markets. And if something like that comes, hits the headline, the job of the analyst or the trader in your case needs to quickly look at that headline and see, does that headline make sense? Is it something we can implement or not? And then when you see that headline, you try to make a decision if it makes sense to sell, because there's a high risk of that happening. Then we have some strong moves on headlines. So I would be, but doesn't mean that I will be buying here, because again, the risks are very overwhelming now for the crude oil market. Interactive Brokers, which is a big broker, they booked losses of 88 millions on the crash we had on Monday in the May future. Alright, so that's crude. What about gold then? Well, gold remains bullish. So a few days ago, we said look to buy here at 16.75. We're trading up here. I said this is not the time to buy up here. Remember that? So it's not time to buy. Bit overbought. We need to have the pullback. It might not feel it's not going to come down, but look, it did come down. So we bounced from the buy spot on April 20th and then on April 21st. And now we're nicely leaving that little area and we're going upwards. German DAX remains bullish for now. So the trend defining level is 10,088. It's the same level we talked about a few days ago. A few days ago we said look to buy here on the 15th of April and we can go up, and so we can book profits here. And I said if we come back down, people are going to buy again. The market is trying to leave that behind. Of course, because of the crude oil situation, people are a little bit nervous, but again, the trend remains bullish about 10,088. So until that breaks, I'm going to be bullish. Now, something is quite interesting happening here is that you can see how it settled into a nice little range, and soon, if we take out something like that trend defining level, then the difference between high and low is going to give you a target of pretty much down here. So soon we could potentially, if we wanted to, even sell to join in with the bigger picture, because the bigger picture trend is, is downwards, but now you have support and like that, and this is a situation where we're either gonna do that or we do like this, and then we'll see what happens. Is it just down and then up again, or do we do like that? It really depends on your outlook. I think it's probably gonna be, even if it goes down, I think it's gonna do like that and then like that eventually, because you always have sharp uptrend and then less sharp uptrend and then more, and that's really how it works many times. As well, the coronavirus situation is actually improving. This is the S&P. So the S&P remains above my trend defining level, which is the April 9th low. So I'm not going to make any changes. Even if we take out this level, we might just go to the April 7th low at 26.24. So it's not necessarily going to change things in a major way, but the very short-term uptrend would end with me on a break to 27.04. Currency markets. So this is your euro. So euro hasn't done nothing since April 15th. So in these situations, there's no point trying to force a trade on. There's no point even bothering. This will continue to trade sideways, and there's no point of despairing either if you only trade Forex. What you need to do if you want to trade Forex, you need to look at maybe some of the Norwegian kroner pair, Canadian dollar pair. Oh, because of the crude oil. Because of general turmoil, you can look at Mexican peso, Turkish lira, South African rand. Those are sort of the pairs I will be looking at. You might even look at things like pound yen or something. But something like plain vanilla, euro dollar, there's nothing happening here right now. And it's because, as I said before, had huge volatility, huge party. Now it's the hungover part where people are just nursing gains, losses. That's what's happening right now. So no one's really committing. GBP USD, we had some decent action here. So yesterday we said look to sell here for this to go down. We hit that take profit spot on. That worked out good. And now I'm neutral. I want to give this another day or two, but we just moved down to support, and I reckon we could probably go up again at least to 2409, maybe 2465, and then we're going to see. It might be a situation where we have this scenario where the market just does something like this and then up, but I suspect it could also be just up and then like that, because we have a base here in this price. Dollar yen as well, you know, this has been very, very quiet really. This has been quiet since March 30th. I think the last very good setup was to sell here for this to go down, and we also said look to sell in this region here. It didn't go all the way up, but after that it's been very quiet. The two scenarios, selling here and selling on the break here. And that, guys, is today's market update. Actually, let's take a look a bit of on the coronavirus situation. So I can tell you right now, the situation is improving in Spain, Italy. I think France is a bit difficult. In Germany is doing really good, and the UK as well has stagnated. In the US as well, it's improving slightly. I mean, it's definitely improving, but so these are the daily cases. So daily new cases in the United States of America. So the peak was on April 4th. So this is going down. It's not going down very quickly, but it's going down. I think another month of close down and we'll be maybe half of what we are right now. Total deaths in the US is going upwards, and the reason for that is because it's a lagging effect of infectious. You need to have an infection to die of the coronavirus, and until this starts to moderate and go down further, I think we're going to continue to see slightly higher deaths. And this could become an issue because of the way the US market is set up, the US economy. So if people don't work, if they need to close for another month or so, you know, they can have even more problems, which is definitely a bit of an issue, and it does look, unfortunately, especially with the death rate creeping up here, that could be prolonged. And this, of course, could have been dealt with if it would have been dealt with from the very beginning. But many countries, I think all countries, I think even Italy failed, given what was happening in China. I don't understand why it took so long time to close down the whole country. They just closed the northern part, and then you had all the other countries like Spain and all these other countries. Nobody was obviously reading the news, I guess. Here's France. And here are new cases. Things are going in the right direction here. They do have some huge spikes, which just makes it a bit difficult to figure out what's going to happen next. New deaths as well coming down in France. This is the UK. Now UK, I know on a percentage basis we're definitely coming down, but on like daily change in cases, yesterday we had 4,300 cases. So it's slightly lower, but you can't really argue that it's a huge change since the beginning of the month. It's pretty much around the same levels. I do think with the lockdown, though, it can continue to go down, but being in the UK myself, I know that especially when it gets warm, people have been out. Total deaths in the UK, they came down for about 2 days. But now they're pretty much back up where we've been before. So again, it's no real changes. Unfortunately, we might be under lockdown for slightly longer. If you want to check this out on your own, you can just go to worldometers.info. It's the same data I was looking at before, where I was calculating the daily growth change. The only thing we did here though is we looked at the actual number of people, which is slightly lagging, but still gives you a bit of an idea what's happening. Overall, we're going in the right direction, but of course, it would have been better if maybe the situation in the US would have been slightly better, because then maybe we could have reopened the US economy quicker. So we are in a situation where the market is waiting. And I think that's what we're seeing in something like the German DAX, where the market is trending sideways. And you can even see that in the S&P 500, where the market pulls down a bit as people start to book a bit of profits. Because market's up with 32%. This is a market where bearish people could have made money, 36% drawdown, and bullish people could have made some money because it was 32% up. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. We have no questions, but we have a ton of good mornings. So we have Maurizio, good morning to you. We have Marvin as well, and Vincenzo. I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you guys are staying safe out there. Okay, we're gonna wrap things up. If you do have any questions for me during the day, guys, as you know, you can always reach out to me on Twitter via AlexFX00. If you're watching the recording as well, don't forget to leave a comment. If you're watching this right now, just click here, and then there's a little like button here. You just click on that one, and if you're not a YouTube subscriber yet, then there's gonna be a little button here where you can subscribe. Next to it, you're gonna have a little bell button, and that gives you notification when I go live. That way, you know directly on your phone, you get a notification I'm live, and you can just join me, and then you don't have to bother with any of the Twitter and stuff like that. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, same time. Thank you, and bye bye.